Right.
There's no more question. We can continue, sir.
Very good, Vishesh. So, how to understand the following terms? I am sure every one of us are clear as to what assets are, what liabilities are, what shareholders' funds are. Now, please remember, you call it shareholders' funds, or you call it equity, or you call it net worth. They all mean the same thing. So, sometimes in the general parlance, we say equity, sometimes we say net worth, and sometimes we say shareholders' fund. They all mean the same thing, and they are used interchangeably in the financial parlance and financial discussions. We understand what is current liabilities. We understand what is non-current liabilities. We also understand what is current assets. We also understand what is non-current assets, and we also understand the difference between the operating versus non-operating assets. But let me explain this to you once again as to how do you differentiate between an operating asset and a non-operating asset. And the difference, of course, is very simple. An asset that helps a business in running its operations is an operating asset. And an asset that does not help the business in running its operations is a non operating asset. And please remember, as valuation professional for land and building and for plant and machinery, it is important for us to understand this difference between the operating assets and the non-operating assets. And why is that so? And that is because operating assets are contributing to the cash generation of the company, to the cash flow of the company. So therefore, operating assets will always have a higher value than the book value is. Non-operating assets do not contribute to the cash flow generation of the operations, and therefore their valuations will be limited only to the extent of the book value. Let me give you an example. Maruti is running making cars. All the plants where Maruti is manufacturing cars all over the country, the land of those plants, the building of those plants, plant and machineries of those plants are all operating assets. Maruti has a piece of land purchased somewhere in anticipation that going forward they will do an expansion program on that plant in future. That land which is which Maruti has purchased today is not an operating asset, it is a non operating asset. जिस दिन मारुति इस लैंड के ऊपर प्लांट खड़ा करेगी और गाड़ियां बनाना शुरू करेगी, उस दिन से ये जो लैंड है इट विल बी टर्म्ड एज operating asset. Similarly, please remember, a company has made investment into the shares and debentures with an intent to make profit from the sale or purchase of these shares and debentures. Now, these are not operating assets of the company. These are non-operating assets of the company. Let's say, for example, Maruti is the company who's purchased these shares and debentures. Now, these shares and debentures are not going to help Maruti in producing the car, and therefore this investment that the Maruti has in these shares and debentures is a non-operating assets. So I'm sure all of you must be clear about as to what the differences between the operating assets and the non-operating assets. What is capital employed, investment, capital employed and investment, investment and investments, working capital gap, and net working capital, friends? What this is what we will discuss tomorrow. And also we will discuss tomorrow what is equity and how do you find out the equity. And we will also discuss how to figure out and evaluate the balance sheet of a company tomorrow. And before we sign off, just to share with you